We talk a little bit about people engagement and change and self-management. Quite a strange combination, actually. And in our conversation, oh, sorry, I have to keep it. I knew I would. Sorry. It's difficult for me not walking while I talk. In our conversation during lunch, one guy asked me what are we actually doing, and then I said, okay, we throw problems at the people, and then we make sure that they fall in love with this problem. So this is another way to put it. And yes. All that I tell you is based on something that we call AdaptiveOrg. It's a method framework for self-management, but today actually we're going to focus on what we call activation process. And before I introduce myself, two cases to set like the frame for what we are talking about. A company called NetZeno, when COVID arrived, 2 weeks later, they were kind of dead because 80% of their revenue contracts were canceled within 2 or 3 weeks. And the good thing is they worked according to the adaptive organization, and then it happened that a random part-time employee, a mom of 3 kids, came up with an idea, and they managed, instead of being dead, being doubled within 3 months or 6 months, 6 months. Yeah, exactly. So this is what you can expect, maybe. Or another example, a much bigger company, we are talking about ENBW. I used to work with them for 2 years in a transformation phase as well. And this is just one example, but a very good one. They used to have, and the management invented already this term, a full campaign stop. So this was well known within their management round because every 3 to 6 months they had a campaign full stop. And this happened because they sent out some kind of shit to their customers, and then the management said, okay, we stop, we have a breakdown in our campaign process. And then we worked with this group of people, meaning that we worked, I think, with 70 people and did an activation process with them. And the last thing I heard was 18 months without full campaign stop. Yes, my name is Joan. I'm from Austria. There are a couple of people. Usually I'm alone. I'm the only guy from Austria, but I've seen some around here. I have a wife, 2 kids, a girl and a boy. I used to play soccer or football, but it's getting less. But tennis is getting more. And you can see our dog, our poodle. This is actually the person, or whatever you want to call it, that calls the shots in the family in the meantime. And this is my journey. I started with reinventing organizations 2015, and actually I'm a mechanical engineer or environmental engineer, so I'm coming from a very different direction. And then I did some stuff like holacracy, but was not happy with that, with the results. And then I went on and did all these agile stuff like OKR and Scrum and Kanban and SAFe and Management 3.0. And in 2018, I decided, okay, all of that is actually not leading to what I want to see. And we joined forces and we started developing what we call AdaptiveOrg, or the part we're talking about, the activation process, which is actually the operational part of the AdaptiveOrg, where it's all about change. And yes, the activation process, you could call it a dynamic invitation-based change framework. And we try to solve 2 major problems. One is that we avoid that companies burn a hell of money in bad change management. And the second problem is, we try to go against disengagement, because typical change management causes a lot of disengagement. So it's like a combination. It's not just that we go for change, we also go for engaged people at the end of the day. And we believe engagement is key today. You know, we are talking about a lot of technology and transformation and so forth, but do we really have the people in our boat? Most companies don't have. And we also believe it's not about culture. It's not about what you write down on your employer branding page. It's way more about how you solve problems in your organization. This is really your mirror, how you are, who you are as an organization. At least we believe that. And yeah, but how to build engagement? I already mentioned it. Throw problems at the people. This is a good idea. Why is this a good idea? Because then you treat them like grown-ups. Okay, so if you always protect them, what can you expect from them in terms of behavior? But if you take them serious, the rules of the game change dramatically. Yes, and here we have an example of a typical change management process. At the beginning, of course, usually you hopefully have a problem. I have seen change management processes without problem. That happens sometime. And then, yeah, you have a small round of people and they're talking about the problem and they try to find a solution. And later it comes, as soon as they have the solution, they are like communicating with the rest of the organization. Okay, and what happens is you create a hell of resistance there. And yeah, after a certain time, you still have a lot of resistance in the system. That's how we put it. And usually the solutions are always implemented. And implementation always means we push for it, okay? And if we push, we create selfish behavior. I heard that a couple of times already today. Change managers always say you need to find something that's in for the people. Okay, so we had never the problem that somebody asked what's in for me, because this is their organization, and if they work on the problems of their organization, they're not gonna ask you what's in for me. They are part of it anyway. Okay, so we treat people sometimes like they wouldn't be part of the organization at all. Okay, and in comparison, like we do it with the activation process, of course, we also should have a problem, but we do not necessarily start change. After there is a problem, we do what we call sense for acceptance, okay? And if there is no acceptance in the group of affected people, there is not going to be change, okay? It's quite simple. But if the people agree and we find what we call an active minority, then we continue, and then we start to design a process design for the activation process. And yeah, I don't go into details right now. And then we invite the people to the activation process, and it's really important, we invite, okay? If people do not join, there is no change. But if an active minority joins us, then we keep on going. Okay, and this active minority are actually the people who create the new design or whatever the result is. Yeah, and very important, I call this the circle of consequence. If people decline the invitation, they silently agree to the results. Okay, this is very important. Good, and then the activation process starts. And yes, you pretty much know that from the agile world. Then you have iterations, and at a certain point, you have hopefully a solution. And if you compare it to a typical change management process, you usually have way less resistance in the organization. And yeah, this is just a nice picture to compare it, what the idea of the activation process is, to get down the resistance in the same kind of amount of time. Yeah, and the good thing is we not just get change done, we also engage people, but without really changing organizational structures. Okay, this is the activation process is like a cross-functional tool to solve problems for the organization, but we do not set up a circle organization or this kind of stuff. It's not required actually. And yeah, so those are typical problems that were already solved with the activation process. We have structures, we have new business models, we of course have process adjustments, and so on and so forth. And even layoffs can be done together with the people. This is not a problem. Actually, it's very nice for us as the people who run the activation process. A crisis is always the best case, because in a crisis people exactly know that we cannot continue like we did in the past. Okay, so it's very clear that things have to change. Yes, and what does the activation process make organizations adaptive, high performing, and also very, very interesting for talents. And usually we also help organizations become more customer and market centric. And on the long run, we also see them being economically successful. And yes, I mentioned that the activation process is not applied on the team level. We usually apply it on cross-organizational topics. Okay, so teams can very well work with themselves, and they don't need a coach and 10 people who manage them, because it's a small group of people usually. But cross-organizational coordination is causing problems for the most organizations today. And there is where the magic happens. And what we try to create is ownership for this kind of problems. And yeah, that's why we recommend shift focus from team level silos to cross-functional impact in your organization. Yeah, this is the activation process at a glance. I have some handouts with me, so who joins me later at the roundtable can have this handout, and but we discussed it anyway at the table later. And yeah, see you at my roundtable.